Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. These are recorded live Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like to catch the show live, come on by for the show. We have our fairly usual lineup, of course, our brand new section called Data Leaks, hearing about all of the companies that have been hoarding your data and then unsecuring it with probably third-party low-paid contractors. We also have some business and some silly news to wrap up the night. I have one that leans towards the political. It was just too good not to include. My apologies for that, but hey, we'll get all the way to the end of the show. If you make it to the end, you probably won't care anyway. But let's go ahead and get right on into this. First, we have an update from New York. It does pass both of their new child protection laws. So one of these was the SAFE Act, and I forget the pithy name they gave to the other one. I generally disagreed. While I agree with the overall arching premise that the laws are trying to pass, I did disagree with the passage of the laws as they are written. So the Stop Addictive Feeds Exploitation, the SAFE Act requires social media companies to restrict feeds on their platforms for users under the age of 18 unless parental consent is granted, and it prohibits companies from sending notifications regarding feeds to minors from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. The second law is your Child Data Protection Act prohibits online sites from collecting, using, sharing, or selling personal data of anyone under the age of 18 unless they receive informed consent or unless doing so is necessary for the purpose of the website. All right, so what do I have against them? First, let me tell you what I agree with them. I think that social media is damaging kids, but I don't think it's the government's job to get in the way. What I disagree with explicitly on this is that both of these acts have under the age of 18, and this gives the social media companies an out to require you to give some form of government ID to prove your age. So this is that subtle, silent back door passed in a deeply liberal place that is cracking the door open to requiring to provide photo IDs to social media companies. Because if you got to inform this for people under 18, you got to verify who's under 18. And that is a major, major, major problem. All right, so with that being said, the laws did pass, so we'll wait for the final doom and gloom. Of course, if they just kind of said, hey, social media companies should have the option, whether it's opt-in or opt-out, I don't really care. I would love it if social media companies, by and large, had an option to turn off all algorithms. Like, okay, I signed in, like when I signed into Facebook years ago, and I deleted my Facebook account years ago. I think I deleted my Facebook account, 6 years ago, something like that. Longer than that, probably. But way back when I got a Facebook account, which was about 15 years ago, I mostly got it to keep an eye on and to communicate with the kids that I was mentoring in a city. It was a really bad city with a lot of bad elements, and I was directly mentoring a number of kids, and so we used Facebook for just to keep tabs of what was going on. I monitored what their friends were up to and things like that. And in that time, if we connected on Friends, okay, I want to see what my friends are up to. I don't want to see what Facebook wants me to see. I want to see what my friends are up to. That's why I'm on the platform. And so if we went back, whether it's opt-in or opt-out, I don't really care about that. I would just like to see an option to say, turn off all algorithms on any social media site. And you did it for anybody under 18 or over 18, and maybe the parental accounts at least have the option to have the parent make that decision and not the child. I'd be much better with that. The only thing about these acts I'm in total disagreement with is the fact that it is required for under 18, which means you have to verify who is under 18. This cracks open the door for a wider internet that requires us to provide a government ID to use the internet. This is the biggest form of censorship for everybody, not just kids on social media, but for everybody, because everybody's going to have to comply, and they're not going to have different rules for New York compared to the rest of the world, especially since this is what they want anyway. They want more verification of who you are. And next up, Apple plans to usher in a whole new world of privacy standards with its AI. And so they're cramming ChatGPT into this. I don't remember if we have the article. I think I tossed it for other better articles. But Elon Musk said if Apple crams ChatGPT into this, I'm going to ban Apple products. I haven't heard him talk about banning Windows products who owns ChatGPT. But anyway, What they're doing here, though, is Apple is integrating ChatGPT into the core operating system level on Mac OS and on iOS. So your desktop computers, laptop computers, your phones, your tablets, all that kind of stuff. And it's going to be used in order to use ChatGPT for things like crafting emails and other things like that. Now, what they're saying is they're embedding it in such a way that it respects privacy, whereas instead of going out and communicating directly with the servers and sharing all the data, then it's going to sandbox stuff better. If they're doing the same thing that like DuckDuckGo and StartPage does, where it takes your user query, strips everything off of it, makes a raw request through a central server to the source, DuckDuckGo being Bing and StartPage being Google, and then takes that data back and then feeds it to you almost in a way like Tor routes, protects your traffic. If it was doing like that, that's actually a very good step up in the direction of privacy. But we're talking about Apple, the company that has built itself on privacy and is anything but a privacy company. So I have very low trust that this is actually private, but at least the way they're trying to explain how it works does make it seem like certainly a better option to use ChatGPT on Apple through their own system than it is to boot up a ChatGPT account and use it over there. And so that really is the overarching principle. So is this really going to be more private? I doubt it. Or it might be more private from OpenAI, the owners of ChatGPT, but it may not be as private from Apple. So I don't know exactly what to think about this. We're going to have to wait to see what happens, but I am cautiously optimistic, and that it sounds like they're doing it in the similar way that your more privacy-focused search engines are querying the big companies for their data. And if they're doing it in that same method, I'd say, yeah, this is definitely better. However, now you risk what is Apple collecting. Whereas DuckDuckGo and StartPage, at least they're allegedly not collecting any data, whereas Apple allegedly is. And that's the difference. I mean, come on, man. It's you can trust us. You just don't want to trust those guys. That's how it goes. And then, of course, I've been talking about these Bluetooth trackers for a long time, how dangerous these things are. Well, whoops, Tile has been hacked. Somebody has busted on in and gotten data from the Tile. So the police data provider says it faced an extortion attempt following the breach. So somebody steals a bunch of data and says, haha, give us money or we're going to start releasing this kind of stuff. So what they actually found is the hacker used an old admin account to scrape Tile data. Just a notice for all you people running companies. Okay, number one, make sure every employee has all of their same logins. I do this routinely on all the sites I manage for my clients. I'm like, oh, what's our login? Here, I'm going to create you a login. Because I don't want you sharing your login with some person on the company, because if some person on the company leaves, the first thing I do when I hear somebody's no longer with the company, I log in there and delete their login, and that's what every company should do. Well, that's apparently what they didn't do, because Life360 is the company, they say in a statement that the hacker tried to extort money by noting it had plugged the hole. They did note that they plugged the hole. 404 Media reveals the hacker found active login credentials that most likely belong to a former employee, granting them access to the company's systems where they were able to initiate data access location or law enforcement requests. Now, somewhere else it said they didn't have law enforcement or they didn't have location, but apparently they did have location requests. So it's kind of interesting. You don't really know what these companies actually have. Now, the reason I didn't include this under the new data leak section is we don't have how many people were breached and exactly what type of stuff they got. And there were other more fascinating articles thrown there this week. But this really illustrates that when we take a device that utilizes a central database to track that device and ping locations back, that central database is subject to hackers. And if they get on there, they can figure out exactly who you are. Now, if they got just some of the basic data from these devices, these hackers, they now know where your home is, not only with some address, but they also have the actual GPS coordinates. They also can track your movements throughout the day. I mean, this is a treasure trove of data that is potentially available. Now, what did they see? As I read a couple different accounts of this, some people said they got location data. Some people said they didn't. Some people said they got all the contact information. Some people said they did. So I don't know exactly what they got. The danger is that a hacker got in utilizing a former employee's login that was not closed down properly by the company. And this is why I do not want to give any form of data to these companies. There's too much risk. There's too many issues going on at hand. Well, let's go ahead and jump on over to security news next. I was going to throw out this article. I thought I'd put it in here just for fun, the fun of it, I guess. Honestly, the next article is really the only one I wanted to cover. This one does not affect the end consumers as much, and being is that the Windows Server adoption in the world of servers is about as good as the Linux desktop adoption in the world of desktop computers. It really isn't a major issue, but there was a critical, actively exploited remote code execution flaw in PHP running explicitly on Windows servers. And so there was a version of this, I think it was all the way back to version 5, they didn't know, and it had the potential of leaking a bunch of data. It's very possible the only reason we didn't see any data leak is because nobody runs Windows servers. Except I did just have to fix one for a client the other day. Anyway, that was fine though. It was actually quite easy. It was just it actually wasn't a problem with the Windows server. It was the fact I think somebody had I was just covering for him. I think somebody had migrated a server, and when a server got migrated, the code didn't change the database call. So I just had to go into the file and change the database call. You know, it was one of those cases where it takes like 15 seconds to fix it and about 20 minutes to figure out where the fix is, you know. So it wasn't a big deal. And this was actually the first thing I thought. I said, hey, maybe they patched the vulnerable PHP version and that caused something to break. That literally was the first thing that crossed my mind. And so, because the error they gave me, it looked like just the database couldn't be read. And so I looked at the line of the error, and the error is just the calling the database. Okay, let's backtrack and figure out where the database credentials are called. Okay, found the database credentials, looked at those. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Went ahead, fixed all that in the server, and apparently when they migrated the server, they never reaffiliated the migrated database with the actual website. I had to do that. I had to turn on the local location mapping, and then once I did that, it was just a simple matter of updating the line in the code which makes their database call. I thought all that might have been related to this PHP error. It ended up not. But this is actually fixed. Now, if you do not have control over your server and they don't have the fix in, you can actually get around the bug. This is a temporary fix utilizing mod rewrite. And so if you put this in your htaccess file, or whatever Windows server's equivalent of the htaccess file is. I'm not a Windows server guy. This is http xampp.conf file. Put this guy in there, and it basically just does a mod rewrite to rewrite out the bug. So if you can't upgrade that server, go ahead and drop this guy into there, and that's going to fix your bug. Now, the one that is really relevant to the end consumers, and so I want to cover this one, is a new way of utilizing PWAs, which is progressive web apps, in order to steal login credentials. So with this, what's going on here is, of course, people are pushing the PWAs. If you're using Chrome, you might see this cool little logo up here. And this means you can click on this and it's going to download the application and install the application. It says, now Linux Mint has a software package called Web Apps, which effectively allows you to do this to any website. You create the web app, and then what it's going to do is it's just going to create a separate application, put it in the menu, give the option for desktop shortcuts, and then in some cases, depending on how they're deployed, you can sandbox them separate from all of the other user accounts on the computer. And so you can do that with different things. Well, now sites, hackers are figuring out you can use progressive web apps in order to get around and make it look like you're a legitimate site, because one of the things that they did here that they found is that this guy here is actually not the Windows login. It's just designed to make it look like the Windows login. And this little URL bar at the top, well, this little URL bar at the top is actually fake. They're overlaying the actual URL bar with some HTML code, which makes it even look like a form that you can actually go up here and type in and see and manipulate this, but they're spewing out what the actual URL link should be. So this is a very, very good way. So it looks like it's secure. It looks like it's going to the right spot. It looks all correct. You fill in your information here, though, and now they have successfully phished your stuff. I think here's a video about how it works. So you can see, you go onto this. It's installing the PWA. So if you go ahead and save it, you can see the link at the top is not actually correct. This is fake. If you send in the information, hit the button, it says, thank you, your submission has been recorded. That has just successfully phished your data. And so you be very, very careful if you are installing these progressive web apps, because the progressive web apps are over here doing a bunch of crazy and nefarious things. Ooh, sorry about that. With that, let's go ahead and jump on over to a quick break. If you want to help support the channel, we do use affiliates. Today we are highlighting A2 Hosting. If you need a website, A2 Hosting is a great place to go. And you can go ahead and get started. Now, the more you buy up front, the cheaper the plan gets. Their single website, lowest tier hosting, $3 a month. I think you can buy up to 3 years when you first started in. Lock in that $3 a month price for 3 years. And then after that, they'll go up, and I think they're $11.99 or something for the lowest plan. Then we have other plans that you can look for as well. You can do shared, managed, VPS, dedicated, serving, reselling. I actually ran these before I ran my, I was using a VPS hosting to run all my client stuff before I switched to managing my own servers over at Linode. But these guys here, they work out pretty well, and definitely worth looking at if you are creating a website. tlm.li/A2H is going to get you on over there, and that will help support the channel and give you a great website. And with that, let's have a look over at our new data leak section now. First up, Frontier Communications data breach impacted 750,000 individuals. One of, I don't know if I'm going to name them by name, but one of our subscribers is actually caught up in both of these this week. So we were talking about it last night. They're doing the amazing thing. They're offering free credit monitoring service. Most useless crap in the world. But hey, at least somebody will tell you if your data's leaking all over the internet, right? Anyway, they had some misconfiguration. The ransomware group claimed to have stolen 2 million customers' data. Frontier's like, no, they only stole 750,000. Come on, get it right. So stolen data includes names, addresses, social security numbers. Like, why does your ISP need your social security number? I'm sorry, we need to ban any company having your social security number outside of, like, a bank or something. There's no reason your internet service provider needs your social security number. Okay, there's also no reason any of these companies need to have any of this stuff on any internet connected computer. There is no active reason they need to have your social security number, your date of birth. There's no reason they need any of this on any of their internet connected servers. Now, we have these stupid know your business laws attached to the unconstitutional Patriot crap. Excuse me, that's the Patriot Act. And what they're trying to do with that is to sit down and say, well, you got to know who your customer is. You want to make sure you're not empowering some terrorist with an ISP or something. And so they have these stupid laws that require you to show IDs in some circumstances. The problem I have with this is that they do not know how to secure any such data. So the IRS requires businesses to keep customer records on file for 7 years. But it doesn't mean you have to put it into a leaky colander database on the internet, okay? You can very easily take that information. Okay, we've used the data. We've verified who they are. We're going to save it. We're going to migrate it into the cold storage. Then it's off the internet. And if we need it for whatever reason, we can go grab it. But there's no reason to have it on the internet. So Frontier, of course, leaks more information than they should have because it has all this data out here. They're only admitting 750,000 are breached, not the 2 million that the hackers say. I don't know. Who do you trust more, the hackers or the ISP? I think at this point in time, we trust the hackers before the ISP, right? Anyone disagree with that? Let me know in the comments. But that being said, definitely have a data breach of these data. And so hackers now have your social security number. Data breach at pharma partner Cencora puts sensitive patient data at risk. So this one here, I believe this one was a bigger one. Let's see if I can get the numbers on that one. So this company here, they actually service a dozen different pharmaceutical companies and interface. Basically, it's a data collection company to interface drug companies with the pharmacies and the doctor's offices. It's one of these third-party intermingled things that nobody really knows much about. So they had left sensitive information vulnerable with patients on medicines from a dozen drug makers potentially affected. Formerly known as AmerisourceBergen, its patient services group unit Lash Group has submitted a data breach notification to the California Attorney General's office. And in letters to patients, they explained that it learned data from its information systems had been exfiltrated on February 21st. Good for them to let us know now. Company quickly kicked off an investigation aided by law enforcement and experts and outside lawyers. On April 10th, the company confirmed that some information had been exposed in the breach. So the company sent letters to patients receiving medicines marketed by Bristol Myers Squibb, Bayer, Gene Tech, Acadia. You can read all this. So why in the world is this company maintaining types of lists and things? Like, the patient data going back to the company? We just no need for any of this. So information could involve the first and last names, addresses, birth dates, health diagnoses, and prescriptions. It sounds to me like we have a HIPAA violation. So who's going to jail here? I mean, come on. I know HIPAA violations are not specifically jailable, but you have gross negligence of this type of nonsense. It's probably worthy looking into. Anyway, the company is offering free fraud protection for 2 years to those who may be affected. Although I heard 5 years. I believe that as I was talking to somebody that was impacted, I think it was 5 years. Maybe that was Frontier was 5 years. I don't know. The same person got involved in both of them. Anyway, so there you have it, guys. Data leaks. These companies are collecting an excessive amount of data. They're storing it insecure on the internet, and that kind of stuff needs to stop. All right, guys, we're going to head on over to business news next. First up in busyness news, this is an update to the California city. If you remember, a bunch of billionaires are like, man, San Francisco is becoming a crap hole because of all of the things that we've done and all the city officials we bribed to get our laws and our rules and our ways. This place is so dangerous and crazy. We got to do something about it. So they started secretly buying up a bunch of farmlands, combining it together, trying to sue the farmers who wouldn't sell, and attempting to basically build by buying all of the land out a new city in California north of the Bay, because, you know, what they did to the first city completely worked successfully. So, so now what has happened is the people in there have put out some petitions in order to figure out if the people will vote. So now this is actually officially in the hands of the voters, for better or for worse. It is a California election, so I have no idea how Hong Kong it is. Are there ballot makers that go brr, or are there honesty and integrity? We don't know. It'd be kind of funny if, 87 million people vote in a county that has 86 million. Yeah, a little sauce. I don't know what's going to happen. But anyway, the people have successfully gotten this on the ballot. So November 5th, while we are deciding which elderly person, the nursing home fodder, is going to be the next president, then we are also going to be voting on whether the tech billionaires can take some perfectly good functioning farmland that's actually feeding people and turn it into the next extension of their crap hole cities, because you know how good they did the first time. Of course, they're basically bribing people to say, hey, let us build this and we'll guarantee you a bunch of jobs at $80,000 a year, which, of course, is like working for minimum wage in California. They're promising 15,000 local jobs at a salary of at least $88,000 a year. In California, dude, that's poverty level in California. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it one of these smart cities. We've talked about this before. There's like 30 cities or 50 cities across the world, I think, or is it a couple hundred and like 30 of them are in the United States? Curious, because we're starting to see this show up. One of those was Phoenix, and guess what? There is now a multiple city block just in Flagstaff, which is just outside of Phoenix, that is a car-free zone. It is effectively one of their smart tracker technology, no-car, green-friendly 15-minute cities. They've put one up right in one of the places they said was their target. This one is just outside of San Francisco, which is another one of the targets. And so they're trying to build these where they don't allow cars in because, ooh, that's dangerous. We're going to kill the planet or something. And so everything it's basically a 15 minutes local city. You live in your little pod. You live in your little city. Everything you need is 15 minutes away. There's no real reason to go outside of that. And so that's really what they're trying to do. That's ultimately the goal here. This is crazy, guys. This is crazy. If you're in this area, do not vote to let these guys build a city. Don't do it. You need to keep that as farmland. Okay, these people collectively, these 100,000 multi-billionaires, they can gentrify an entire block, an entire section of nearby San Francisco and do the very same thing. You want to show us that you finally have figured out the plan to make all this work? Fine. Show us by turning the crap hole that is San Francisco into something that people want to be in and are capable of living in safely. You do that, maybe we'll consider letting you build another city, replacing farmland, which produces more food. Because if they don't have enough food and enough farmland to make the food, this is more reason for them to get us to eat the bugs. And I will not participate in eating the bugs. I am not riding the Snowpiercer. I am not eating bug powder. Well, Google was under fire by the Justice Department, and they're like, we don't want a jury trial. Here's a $2.3 million check. Please don't give us a jury trial. Why don't they want a jury trial? Well, a jury trial means it becomes all public. Everybody knows what's going on. Versus what they're doing is they said, hey, yeah, we kind of did something wrong, but we don't really know. Here, we're going to pay you $2.3 million, which is what we calculated our offense could have caused. And so don't send it to the jury, but you can take all your evidence before a judge to do a bench trial. So there you go. That's how it works. You can break the rules if you have enough money to pay off the people involved in it, if you want to do that. I think their ultimate motivation is to keep whatever this situation is out of the hands of a jury, which becomes a lot more of a public trial versus a bench trial, which is more of a hearing that nobody really knows what's going on or when. But they're doing it by saying, hey, here's a bunch of money to make this go away. Wink, wink, wink. Which Google, $2.3 million. What is that? Look, I found a penny on the ground. Here, Department of Justice, have my penny. Just don't try me before a jury of our peers. We don't want to let anybody know what's going on. All right. And finally, guys, oh boy. Somebody's poisoned the video hole. All right. YouTube is going to be testing server-side ad injection to counteract ad blockers. So instead of the video playing and then, hey, at this point in time, something happens and then an ad pauses the video, plays the ad, and then gets back to the video, what they're going to be doing is on their server side, they're going to be taking the video, splicing up, and dropping an ad in the middle. Now, this doesn't mean that every single video will have an ad at every single splice, but they'll effectively be taking videos and splicing them what they think is the logical places. So, something really tragic happens and someone says, let's have a moment of silence for tragedy that just happened. And Google sees that as a reasonable ad break. And so let's take a moment of silence. Quick now, bye, blah. I mean, of course, I did that louder because the ads are always much louder than the program itself. So what ends up happening here, of course, is that they're trying to get around all of the fact that uBlock Origin is definitely beating them in the ad blocker race. And AdBlock Plus has had a couple setbacks this last couple weeks, but I think that they're kind of back on track. Obviously, Brave is doing a decent job, and even doing a good regularly updated host file can do a reasonable job at some of this kind of stuff. So to counteract this, what they're going to be doing is splicing the videos up and then just inserting the ad on their server side, which also means if we are migrating the videos from YouTube to a place like Odyssey or BitChute, it's possible that it might scrape those over with ads in them. So if anybody happens to watch one of my Odyssey or BitChute videos and you see an ad, please make a copy of that video, like send me the URL and email it to me. I want to investigate. I may not have the bandwidth to upload to every one of those directly, but we are going to see. Now, Rumble is always going to be safe because I can't sync from YouTube to Rumble anymore. They turned that off about a year ago, or 6 months ago, rather. So Rumble gets all of my videos directly as well. So you can always watch the channel on Rumble if you start seeing this. If you find yourself one of the unfortunate test cases for this nonsense, you can watch all my stuff at Rumble, and that will not even be fed from YouTube at all. That's fed directly to Rumble by me. So that is certainly an issue. Now, here's the thing about ads, okay? Obviously, I do make a fair amount of money with the ads on the YouTube channel, but I am not going to tell people, you should turn off your ad blocker for me. No, I think that if you want to help support the channel with like Patreon or one of the other places where we're there, one person giving $1 a month is far more than you would possibly pay me in ads, and go ahead and run the ad stuff. Or, hey, if you want YouTube Premium, get YouTube Premium. I'm not going to tell anybody to not do that. That may or may not be your purview to do. But I think that I do think this is a little bit scummy. I can understand why they're doing it. For me, I'm looking at this over and going, well, I know what my exit plan is. If I find myself seeing these ads being injected directly into my stream, I know where I'm going. I'll be honest. So I don't think this is a good plan, but I think that YouTube has the right to do this, but this is also why I make the content available on other places as well. So they are certainly cramming that information down our throats. And my big problem, there was a time not too long ago, I did not run an ad block on YouTube. Listen to this, YouTube overlords. I did not run a ad blocker on YouTube until you became obsessive. Okay. When you went for the excess and you wanted to cram more ads into the video than the duration of the video itself, I turned on the ad blocker. When you started giving me massive amounts, like 6 ads at the beginning of a video, I turned on the ad blocker. But when you had an ad at the beginning and an ad at the end of the video, and you had the old mid-roll things that just overlaid the video that wasn't a video ad that took the place of the video, I didn't care about that. Okay, that's fine. I'll watch that ad. But the fact that YouTube pushed so hard to cram so many ads, and they were so long, and they were so spread thin, like you are only watching a couple minutes of content, and then you have another ad break longer than the content block you just watched, and then you do another really short segment, and then you have another really long ad segment. When you started doing this, that's when I turned on the ad blocker. Because I kind of want to support the creators with ad stuff, because I'm not willing to buy YouTube Premium. But at the same time, you start going so excessive, it became completely untenable to watch it. Because I got news for you. I don't watch Netflix. I don't watch any content that has ads at all. Okay, I spend my time watching movies. I don't watch TV. I don't watch anything that has ad breaks in it. I'm not going to sit here and get this culture shock of ad break on your nonsense. I'm going to go to your alternative if you don't stop it and let me control my system the way I want. That's the way it is. But I'm not going to tell anybody else what they have to do. But if you start seeing yourself doing this, Rumble gets all of my videos directly. And if you happen to see one of my videos on BitChute or Odyssey that shows up with an ad in it, please let me know. I want to investigate that further. Well, if you do want to help support the channel, you can actually help support us over on our Spreadshirt shop. Of course, you can pick up, we have this hat here is from our shop, as is my coffee cup here and my really sweet keyboard, computer background mouse pad there. And so we can get this, you can get t-shirts, you can get hats, you can even get computer bags, you can get shopping bags, all sorts of fun stuff over here on the website. So here's bags and backpacks. There's even a computer bag as well. Look at that. And there's a little carry-all pouch. I have one of the shopping bags. This is a new duffel bag. I don't have one of those ones yet. So you have a lot of different options over here. Shop.switchedtolinux.com if you are interested in picking up any of those. And with that, guys, let's head on over to your favorite place and mine. Let's take a trip to SillyVille. First one, I did warn you, this one is a little bit political, but it was just too good not to, and it is completely related to modern tech. And this is the idea of a geofence. So, of course, people have been painting these pride murals all over public streets and then wondering why, tire tracks show up on them. So here's the thing, okay? I don't care if you want to be gay. You go be gay all you want. I don't really care. I'm from the time period that you didn't talk about sex at all, gay or straight or hetero or homo, and nobody cared one way or the other. In fact, if you brought it up in the course of work, it was called sexual harassment, and you're having a conversation with the human resources. Okay, why are we all obsessed with who's having sex with whom these days? Okay, that being said, you have these murals and you're putting them all over the roads. I got news for you. People walk down your streets that don't agree with your lifestyle. Just like you may not agree with my lifestyle. Okay, I am a white, conservative, heteronormative, cis, male Christian who subscribes to the Reformed view of theology. Okay, that's where I'm at. You're like, oh my God, that's homophobic. No, maybe you're just Christophobic. Okay. You hate me, don't you? You're so discriminatory against me. What is this nonsense? Can we not have differences of opinion and agree to disagree on some basic things in society? Like, especially things that we shouldn't be talking about anyway. But the fact of the matter is, these people want to paint all of this stuff, forcing yourself. I don't go around the city painting the Christian flag all over your sidewalks. I don't want you painting your flag all over the sidewalks either. I want us to have as neutral as a place as possible as far as the public taxpayer-funded areas go. And I understand if some organization would like to pay to put a mural up there, fine. But the organization is going to have to deal with the fact that some people don't like that mural. Okay, if you paint the mural on the side of your building, you can deal with it the full force of the law. You paint the mural on the side of the street with public funds, I'm sorry, that's a different case. Now, that being said, there's been 2 cases of high-profile manhunts. They can't track down the criminals who steal stuff in New York City. They fire the Big Lots manager who wants to figure out who the guy is that just assaulted one of his employees, but they engage in a manhunt for the person who left tire streaks on a pride flag on a street. Lime Scooter jumped in to save the day because you can go to these places and buy the Lime Scooter. Like rent a Lime Scooter. Well, Lime Scooters will not drive over these murals in Spokane. They have geofenced. Lime has geofenced where these murals are, and they will not let you ride a scooter over a mural. Maybe they can deal with some of the other problems with these scooters. I don't know. No, this is important. We can't let somebody drive over the scooter. So, Pride Flag Crosswalk in Spokane has now been designated as a no-go zone by Lime Scooters, following the arrest of multiple teens for leaving skid marks on the road. Scooters will now shut down if they are driven over the Pride Flag. So, oh God, this is where we're at, folks. This is where we're at. I mean, again, if you want to be part of the community, that's fine. I don't care. So what? All right. But the fact is, we don't need to be putting all this crap out in public. We don't need to be cramming it down there, because I have some other ideas that you may not want to hear. All right. That's our political one. All right. I'm done with my political rant for now. But let's go on to the next news. Of course, we all know that Windows recall is a bunch of nonsense, right? I mean, it's like, holy crap. What person thought this was a good idea? Well, these people did. They made an open source version of it, and it even runs on Linux. So yes, recall on Microsoft, which received so much backlash. Windows was like, sorry, bro, sorry. Y'all lashed us with the noodly appendages too much. We're going to repent. So now you can head on over to GitHub, and you can actually download this open source version of Recall. This is called Open Recall, and it will run on a Mac, it will run on a Windows, and it will run on a Linux. So you presumably have a little bit more control over it. So cost Open Recall is free. Windows Recall, part of Windows 11, requires special hardware. Rewind AI is a monthly subscription. So the Apple version is a monthly subscription. Privacy on device, self-hosted. Microsoft policy applies. Connected to ChatGPT. That's terrifying. OS support, Windows, Mac, Linux. This is Windows. This is Mac. Support hardware, all. Copilot plus certified Windows hardware or anything else people can get hacking. M1, M2, Apple Silicon. And transparency, open source, closed source, and closed source. So now you can actually have a look over here. You can go ahead and create this bad boy, and you can install Open Recall on your system. Like, why? But okay, I guess if you really want it. But hey, it satisfies my requirements. It's open source. It's completely optional. And, you know, maybe there's somebody will come up with a distribution with this. As long as it's fully disclosed so people download it, know where they are, I'm fine with that. But yeah, now we have a version of the software so bad, even Microsoft is like, sorry, bro. So there we have it, guys. Open Recall. Let me know in the comments, are you going to be installing Open Recall on your system? All right, let me know. And in the meantime, if you want to help support the channel, we do have a Patreon page. You can join us over there on patreon.com/TOMM. That'll help support the community over here. And with that, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.